When the last note fades, the room still remembers. The lights dim, and everything that was alive a moment ago goes quiet. After the rush of making, after the hours that blurred together, what's left is this. The hum in your ears, the echo of what used to be sound. You stand there. The world keeps turning, as if it never heard you at all. Finishing a project is supposed to feel like a victory, but some of the time it doesn't. The moment the last chord fades, your body remembers everything you ignored to get there. The hunger, the exhaustion, the ache in your shoulders. It's like gravity snapping back into place. Flow feels limitless while you're in it, but when it ends, all those boundaries return at once. The silence afterward is heavy, almost physical. You can hear the ringing in your ears. Feel the still air pressing against your skin. You think something's wrong, but really, this is just the body's way of recalibrating after intensity. It's strange how quiet can feel like loss. But that stillness isn't punishment. It's what happens when the current finally settles. You were swept away for hours, maybe days. Now the tide has gone out, and you're standing on the shore, unsure of what to do with your hands. Every artist knows this ache. The work ends, and suddenly the world feels a little less alive. You've spent weeks living inside a song, a painting, a story, and now that it's done, the version of you who made it doesn't exist anymore. There's a kind of grief in that. Not dramatic, just quiet. A hollow where the work used to be. You think finishing should bring peace, but instead it brings absence. Because art isn't just something you make, it's something that holds you while you're making it. And when it's gone, you feel the space that it leaves behind. When you're deep in the process, the self dissolves. You stop thinking and start becoming movement. Every gesture, every decision folding into the next. Time loosens, and for a while you disappear inside the work. But when it ends, all those boundaries rush back. The self returns like a closing door. And the space that once carried you now feels too small to hold what you found there. Most of us try to skip this part. We rush to the next idea, the next project. Anything to avoid the stillness that follows completion. But that stillness is where the real meaning of the work begins to unfold. It's like the echo that follows a sound. Not the sound itself, but the space it reveals. Grief is just the echo of creation. When you're deep in a project, your sense of self becomes wrapped around it. You wake up thinking about it, fall asleep editing it in your head. You start to become the person who's making that thing. But when it's done, that identity disappears overnight. Suddenly, you're no longer the person in process. You're just you, sitting in a quiet room that used to feel electric. That's why completion feels so strange. You're not just letting go of the work. You're letting go of the version of yourself who existed to make it. The one who woke up every day with purpose, who knew exactly what mattered for a while. You built routines around that person. You shaped your thoughts, your days, even your moods around them. And when the project ends, they vanish. What's left behind is you, stripped of momentum, unsure who you are without the making. It's disorienting because so much of creative life is built on motion. We define ourselves by what we're building, what's next, what's still unfinished. Productivity becomes proof of existence. When that motion stops, it can feel like you've disappeared with it. I used to hate that space. I'd fill it immediately with noise, new projects, new deadlines, anything that kept me from feeling like I'd stopped. But over time, I learned that this in-between is essential. It's the pause that lets the echo fade before the next note begins. When you stop resisting it, you start to see that silence isn't taking something from you. It's giving you back your perspective. It's reminding you that you were never the project to begin with. There's a rhythm to every creative life, a pulse between motion and rest, between the making and the being. But we've trained ourselves to only value one half of that rhythm, the active half, the producing half. The truth is, stillness has its own form of work. It's where everything you've learned starts to settle, where scattered pieces begin to connect beneath the surface. The mind that once chased deadlines starts to think in slower patterns, rearranging things you didn't know you were carrying. When I let myself rest, I don't try to plan the next project. I give myself permission to be aimless. I pick up a guitar just to feel the sound of the strings, or walk with my camera without looking for anything specific. Sometimes I write in a notebook with no intention of turning the words into anything. It's strange at first, how hard it is to do something without a goal. But eventually, the act itself becomes enough. Rest isn't a pause from creativity. It's creativity in another form. It's reflection, digestion, quiet renewal. The silence between projects is what keeps the work alive. Without it, everything you make starts to sound the same. When you start to see rest this way, it stops feeling like lost time. You begin to trust that even when nothing visible is happening, something underneath still is. Creation and silence aren't opposites. They're the two halves of the same breath, the inhale and the exhale of being. You make something, you release it into the world, and then everything draws inward again. We like to think creativity means motion, output, expression, forward momentum. But even the deepest currents in nature rest. The ocean retreats before it returns. The light fades before it gathers again. Everything that expands must also fold back on itself. The silence after creation is that folding. It isn't the absence of energy. It's its return to the source. The moment the waves gather before it breaks again. When you stop trying to fill that space, you start to feel its rhythm, the quiet turning of something larger moving through you. In that stillness, the boundaries blur again, the way they did in flow. You can feel the same current that carried you while you were creating, only now it moves inward instead of out. What was once expression becomes absorption. The universe, for a moment, listens back. Creation was never just about expression. It was always about learning how to hear. To create is to listen outward. To rest is to listen within. The artist, the work, and the silence are all a part of one ongoing conversation, each answering the other in return. That's why creativity isn't about making the world notice you. It's about learning to listen back. So when the making ends and the quiet arrives, it isn't a void, it's continuity. It's the rhythm that holds everything together, the unseen half of creation that lets the rest exist. If this video spoke to you, it helps more than you know to leave a like, subscribe, or share it with someone who might need it. And if you want to see these essays early, before they go public, you can join the Patreon. Thank you for being a part of this quiet space. I'll see you in the next one.